How y'all doing? My name is Jacqueline. I'm an editor at Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm so excited to moderate this conversation because I've been laughing about this show for a week. Y'all are lucky enough to be laughing about it today. So without further ado, let's call up our cast and crew. First, Nigel Lythgoe, guest star. Bresha Webb, guest star. And the co-creators, co-executive producers, and stars of Sherman's Showcase, Bashir, Salahuddin, and Diallo, Riddle. Thank you guys so much. Let you guys get settled down. First of all, I have to say, when I was watching it, it was one of those moments where I was like, of course this needs to be a comedy show. Of course it should be based off of the Time Life, like, you know, Solid Gold, Soul Train infomercials of my youth. So I'm gonna have Bashir and Diallo, you tell me like how it came to be.
We definitely watched those two. And you know, growing up, I feel like there was one that had like the music of the 60s in it, and like that was the only part of the song that I ever knew. So it's, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name, in the white room with black curtains. And like, that was the only part of the song I ever heard. You know, didn't listen to a lot of that on the radio, but we were writers at Fallon for a long time. We did a lot of musical sketches there. And we, at some point, were like, this is what we enjoy doing, this is what but we were on NBC where you have a very, they don't give you a lot of rope, you know. You can't kind of go there. And by the way, we would also get pitched things by artists who came on the show. Like Pharrell came on the show one time, and I remember he was like, "Hey, y'all writers on the show? Hey, come over here." And he like talked to us for 30 minutes with this. Wouldn't let us leave. We kind of felt cornered, kind of felt trapped.
Yeah, everyone, if you could turn on your mics too.
There it is.
Yeah. And so like, but the ideas that were commonly pitched that we thought were really funny were, you know, there was no place on a show like Late Night with Jimmy Fallon to do that sort of stuff. So this, in some ways, is an idea that we've wanted to do for a long time.
I mean, you gave us Slow Jam the News, so we'll forgive you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, Diallo and I also, you know, we met in college, guys. We were doing sketch comedy way back in the day in Los Angeles when we first moved to LA, didn't have any money. We were both in two different sketch comedy groups that were mostly white, and we still couldn't get any good parts.
We always joked that we were both the only black member of all white sketch groups. And one time I was like, you know, I'm sick of playing the co-pilot.
And I was like, I'm tired of playing the cook. It's been enough. But we decided to start writing together. We actually had one of the first big viral hits on YouTube, this thing called Condi Rice Raps we did years ago that Jimmy became aware of, and he brought us out to New York a couple months before his show premiered. And you know, we were very nervous. We didn't know what to expect. And we looked up a couple years later and we had an Emmy nomination. And I think this show, Sherman's Showcase, you know, we look at those years at Fallon as like 4 years of college. We look at that as like really kind of, you know, making our bones. We were putting in sometimes 20-hour days, you know, doing a daily TV show. And so that was our college, and then now we look at Sherman's as our PhD. We're gonna skip the masters.
Well, I think it's good that you got a guest star like Nigel, because Nigel, folks, I mean, American Idol and all of the other great things that you've done, but you actually worked on shows like this back in the 70s back in England, correct?
Yes, I did. But I also remember them, you know, watching The Dancer's Thoughts reminded me of Laughing and shows like that, and paying tribute to those great shows as well.
Muppet Show.
And yeah, I feel as though I felt very comfortable on the show. It was right for me, you know, working with black people.
I knew you were about to make that turn. I saw it coming.
Some might say too comfortable.
That ain't right. That ain't right.
What have we created here?
Let's go. But can I say real quick, one thing that we wanted to do very early with this show was have people know the dancers on the show. Like it wasn't, but yeah, think about it. Like often they're the people who are just dancing behind the comedian, then they go away. And we wanted to really spotlight that. Dancers are some of the most misused and abused entertainers in our industry. I would like to think that there are young, you know, boys and girls who will watch this show and be like, I want to be a showcase dancer one day. And hopefully we'll have that many seasons that they can do that. But you know what I mean? Like it's actually important for us to shine a spotlight on the dancers and to give these amazing actors and actresses who can dance a chance to be funny, you know, on camera and get to know who they are.
I was just gonna say, Bresha, for you, did you get to improv? Because I know these guys write really funny stuff, but I also know.
I mean, could we stop her from it?
You can't stop me from improving.
So yeah, break it down. Like, what's it like on set when you guys get into these crazy scenarios? Like, how much do you get to go wild?
I mean, they just let me be myself and just be crazy. You know, what other show can an actress come on and do her best impersonation of a Mary J. Blige-esque, you know?
It's transformative. There are times when you can squint your eyes during that episode and you will, I just think I'm watching Mary.
Yeah,
It's
well,
crazy.
I mean, like down to the costume and makeup. For myself, this is what I do at home. And I would say that all the time, every time I was on set. It was like, whether you guys give me a check or not, I was already gonna do this today.
I was like, tear up the check.
Turn the check. No, keep my damn check. But like down to the wig, like they let me have free reign over everything. So like going in the hair and makeup, I knew what wig I wanted, what Mary I wanted to present for that day.
There are many Marys.
Many Marys, but I chose one specific Mary, no more drama Mary. Yeah. And so that's the Mary I love when she going through a struggle. And I mean, that's the best
That brother
Mary.
knows. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, Mary going
Hoping
through
you make that
struggle.
choice.
Holleration Mary. I know that Mary.
Holleration, hateration.
Hateration.
Yeah, hateration. So, I mean, it was just so much fun. And so they wrote an incredible script. And, you know, you come to work and you just get to have fun. And they had all these pieces around. And I got to just have a great time. And I guess that's in episode 5. And then...
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's
Oh my
so
God,
fun.
I listen. And then like I do another character that's like Tony Braxton-esque Anita Baker. But what's so funny is how that all came about. Diallo and I were on a show called Marlon on NBC for 2 seasons. Oh, thanks for watching. Season 2 will be on Netflix June 14th. Thank you. And so we were in the makeup and hair trailer, and you know, I'm always goofing off. We're always goofing off, you know, Stevie and Yvette. And so I was like doing an impersonation of like Tony Braxton and Anita Baker, and you know, like
I just loved how she wasn't even using words.
Yeah.
Like it was just.
It's like my soothing music. And he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then months later, he was like, I have this show and I want you to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I got to do all of the things that I do for my friends and my parents when I'm kind of drunk. And I got to bring it to work and get paid. It was awesome. I got to choose the hair, everything. It was amazing.
That. Just so you guys know, I'm not the only one that gets to ask great questions to everyone involved here. If y'all were giggling, you owe it to yourself to ask a good question, and I will turn it to y'all in a few minutes. But first, I have some things I want to talk about because when you have a sketch comedy show and like I'm getting ready to do this, I could literally talk about so many different things. Like the fact that Dutch, like there's a gap in his tenure with Sherman's Showcase. Like I literally wanted to be like, so where'd he go?
You caught that. I'm so happy you caught that.
I watched it like 4 times.
Yeah, like seriously, that's obviously a reference to the fact that Lorne Michaels disappeared off SNL for a couple of years, and in our timeline, Pat Nixon took over the shows.
I love this. I knew there was a story, and I knew I would get into later episodes, but I love that there's little touches like that in there, but I'm assuming there's so many that y'all like, little touches.
Okay, let me just say real quick, I have to give a shout out to IFC because this is the kind of show that like I just look if you pitch a show that you say, oh, this is me speaking my truth, I feel like networks will hear you now. It's actually much harder right now to pitch anything that is absurdist and heightened reality. And we feel like there's a lot of really grounded stuff that's out there. This is our one show where we get to be just completely unhinged and kind of crazy and do really wild stuff. Shout out to IFC and particularly Pete Aronson. Let me just say, I gotta say this. We were 30 seconds into our pitch. We said, okay, so if 30 Rock took place at SNL, our show's gonna take place at Soul Train. 30 seconds into the pitch, like, okay, we're doing the show. Tell me more. I'm forever grateful to him and to everybody at IFC and Radical Media who made this happen. I only bring that up just to say they let us put in all those details without ever pushing back. There are times when they're like, guys, we don't understand why this happens in the show. We were like, oh, trust us. There's an entire backstory that totally makes sense in the context of the show. They allowed us to do things. Like we have references in an upcoming episode to Serge Gainsbourg, which is a huge, love him. How many shows do you get to reference Belle Biv DeVoe and Serge Gainsbourg? Like, so, props to Black Guns. You're going to see more of that movie Black Guns, White Bandits this year. Because we're big spaghetti Western fans. So,
I would just add that, Diallo and I are music nerds. And you might even just say we're nerds. And we're guys who
to
love.
Harvard.
Absolutely. We love lore. I mean, that's what you picked up on.
Yeah.
Everything is layered for us. We're always trying to find more and more jokes. We definitely try to make stuff where there's the main joke happening, and then if you watch it a second time, you'll notice around the main joke a bunch of other jokes that
Like the audience actually laughed over some of my favorite jokes, and I was like, "That's great," because that means when they watch it a second time, they'll catch that second joke. Yeah. There's
but
a lot
besides
of
it being funny, the music in it is great. Time Loop was a great feel to it, a great groove.
Thank you.
In the choreography.
Now you'll watch that on So You Think You Can Dance this season on Monday nights on Fox.
Ow! Get the
Now
plug.
listen, can I just say we were huge fans. We are huge fans of the Lonely Island guys in the sense that they always made music that I, as a DJ, could still play in the club. Like, that was always one of the cool things. Like, they didn't just just get that writer who produces music in his spare time to do it. No, we reached out to Fonte Coleman. We reached out to a lot of electronic music artists that you might have heard of. We reached out to a lot of people so that they would give us their A-list product, and then we would be able to put our lyrics over those songs, if that makes sense. So, I mean, like, every single song on here is and we're happy to say that they don't want me to say too much, but you'll be able to download songs.
Oh, it's a bop. Let's do it. I want to do
The full-length versions. These are very shortened versions of the
But
song.
you had Quincy Jones on the show. I mean,
Quincy
this
Jones.
is an icon.
So who is your favorite guest star?
Apart from me.
Apart from the two that are up here on the stage, because this is the thing. I feel you got Tiffany just to do soup,
we actually got her to do a couple other things.
Yeah, she comes back this season.
I'm sure she's gonna do other things, but she's a little busy to come and do soup.
I mean, can I just tell you, you tapped into something that I've been feeling since we started this. The old adage from Field of Dreams: if you build it, they will come. And we built it, and they came. I mean, Tiffany just showed up and just lent us her whole day, even though she didn't want to. But we were like, we need the whole day because we got to get the script right.
She was like, Diallo, you better have that director come in here and massage my feet. And so I went to the director. I was like, hey, could you massage Tiffany Haddish' feet? Just to show that we really appreciate her being here.
But everybody came, I was shocked that Nigel came. Even the day I was like, he's not going to show up.
I was thinking of not showing up.
Yeah. We were on the same page. It's been a real blessing, and I think it's also a testament to just the level of work that we put in, that people saw the material and they said, we get it, we want to be a part of it. Common came through. So many great people came through. And then on the music front, it's what we just talked about. I'm so proud. When I heard some of the songs that are going to be on this season, I told Diallo, I was shocked that it sounded so good. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is radio ready right now, and this is on a sketch comedy
John
show.
Legend's our executive producer. He was just like, hey, just make sure that if you do a musical sketch show, that the music is good. We're really proud of that. And to your point about Tiffany, I was kind of kidding a little bit because these are all our friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've all been in this business since about 2010. So we've just been, looking for the opportunity to work with John Legend, to work with Tiffany. By the way, Lil Rel shows up in several episodes, and it was literally just because he saw, I was shooting IG stories on set, and then I get a text from him what y'all doing over there in Glendale? I want to come over there. And I was like, come on through, we'll write something for you, and we did. You know what I mean? That was the level.
That's a great Little Rel impersonation. If you guys don't know, I was brilliant.
I wasn't even trying to.
He does. He always sounds confused when he says things. What are y'all doing over there?
I think it's a testament to the number of people you'll see on our air. I mean, look, Diallo and I both come from really big families. He's one of 6, I'm one of 8. We're guys who are used to having to shout louder than the rest of the dinner table to get your voice heard.
To get fed.
Which does to get clothing. But I think the thing is that we love to be funny, and we really love to watch other people.
That's
be funny.
Bashir's sister singing "Drop It Low for Jesus."
That's my little sister Zuri.
Isn't that a hit?
Yeah. Zuri dropping it low for Jesus. Can't wait.
Zuri plays another. I won't even.
That one.
Oh my God. By the way, let's just address the elephant in the room. Black Twitter is going to have a lot of fun with our show.
Yeah.
There is one episode in particular.
Yeah.
It should be called the feud episode. We addressed the feud that many of you may not be aware of between John Legend and Common.
That's right.
Mortal enemies. You can quote me. They bring their feud to the stage, and then there are a couple other sketches which I will not spoil by even mentioning, but one of them has our old co-star Marlon Wayans in it.
Woo!
And he did a 20-minute take that I was like, it had people crying. And I was like, how do you begin to edit this down? Because, I just don't even, maybe one day we'll release the whole thing online or something like that. Because it's transcendent.
But I would say, just to give her more love, even, Bresha over here is an incredible actor, an incredible comedian, and an incredible singer. She's so funny during her episode that the crew is laughing so hard, we actually left a lot of that in if you listen in the mix.
Because we also didn't almost have a choice, because every take
we're like, we're not gonna do that again. We're not gonna meet that. But I'm so proud. I was proud of us. I'm proud that we built a show where people can come, they'll do our jokes, which are great, and then they could find their own ways to be funny, which is great. And we want all of that. We really want all of that.
We realize we're talking a lot, but there's we're very excited.
You're excited.
Vic Mensa is a rapper who I think a lot of y'all know. You might have caught a little bit of him looking very Prince-like. So
episode 3, you guys, is gonna be a game.
Oh my gosh, I almost wish we could just show you episode 3. It's one of my absolute
Let's go.
But we were thinking, where else could you see Vic Mensa fall so completely into another character for an entire half hour? You can't even do that on SNL or something. So, we wanted to give everybody who came through, whether it was Quincy Jones. I can't wait for y'all to see the Quincy Jones moment. He did some jokes. I was like, Quincy, think about your legacy. You can't be doing this. You got an EGOT, brother. We need you. Nigel, to me, had always been just this amazing. I knew you had a dancer background, but he came through, and I gotta say, brother, it was so good that you were willing to try anything that we pitched at you, and no matter how ribald or how inappropriate it was, and then you used some language that I could only call florid.
You made it more inappropriate.
He made it more inappropriate. Got too comfortable.
Thank you.
I'm just happy you introduced me to Black Twitter.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, they're gonna know you real well.
They're gonna know at Dizzy Feet. They're gonna know at Dizzy Feet on Twitter.
Well, that actually, because you guys did it, so I don't want to ask y'all about this, but as people that were not involved in the creation of SHERMAN'S SHOWCASE, but got to enjoy it here, what was the little touch that you noticed that was really authentic? Because for me, besides the DVDs for sale, because I bought one of those Time Life DVDs for, I think it's 38 special. I bought that one. So I know it's
Midnight Special. Midnight Special. Bert Sugarman's Midnight Special. One of the shows.
Midnight Special. See, that's how old I am. I forgot the name of it. Sorry. It had 38 special on it.
Shout out to Bert Sugarman.
Thank you.
Said nobody in the last 40 years.
What little touches did y'all enjoy? Like Bresha and Nigel, did you look at it and you're like, I definitely remember something like that?
Well, I remember watching Solid Gold and the Solid Gold dancers, and I regularly see them in Los Angeles now. Unfortunately, it's at memorial services.
Then that's what it's like hanging out with Nigel.
He's ready to party.
Wow. For me,
Bresha, do you have any depressing
I mean,
baby anecdotes you want to give Austin?
I guess the CDs at night, like BET late at night, you know what I'm saying? And just those type of infomercials are classic. Also, just the selling of products. I came at the end of Soul Train when it was still for an hour. No, it was 30 minutes on Fox or something random. And they would just sell the most ridiculous stuff. Who needs malt liquor cologne?
That's not a thing.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Nigel says he's wearing it.
But it would be things like that. So I saw it was, it's universal, but I just saw so much of my Black culture and my family's culture in it. And it reminded you of watching In Living Color and Martin episodes with the whole family, and you just be laughing. Your mom and dad will be laughing at something completely different at what you're laughing. It's something that I know people will come back, the younger generation can come back and still laugh at things that I'm getting now. The Frederick Douglass, it's so random, but to think of him as a deadbeat.
Yeah. But it's also based on an actual commercial on Soul Train. They had a commercial where this kid is in his room getting his afro right and there's a knock on his door and he opens his Frederick Douglass. And he's like, Frederick Douglass, he's like, you gonna go out with your afro looking like that?
Look it up.
It's on YouTube. You can watch it right now.
Oh OMG.
And we were like, we got to do that every
Like, we got to
episode.
have like multiple Frederick Douglass commercials.
Every episode.
Yeah.
So-
All right. I'm gonna make a thing right now. Some of y'all are very internet minded. I think Sherman's Showcase needs a very in-depth Wikipedia page with all of these references. So please and thank you if anybody wants to maybe kick that off, because the first thing I did after I watched it the first time was start to look back at like all the stuff y'all reference, and it's such a great show for
Can
that.
I just say, like, the Hotel Dunbar, that whole section with like Sherman. I grew up watching PBS documentaries with my father, and those two cameras and everything. And everybody's made mockumentaries, but for us, it was a chance to do a mockumentary from our point of view, and just, the line where he's like, black men with knives and spoons and forks are dining at the restaurant, not playing their jazz music, like. We just wanted to make sure that, like, because not many black creators get to do what Christopher Guest does, and not many of us get the chance to do. And I will say, once again, all of our friends in the industry have, we showed them snippets and the stuff, and they're like, IFC let you do that? So, hopefully it'll get out that, like, we don't always have to, like, speak, because I always say, like, George Lucas wasn't speaking his truth about white men in space. No, he did a movie called Star Wars, and we all enjoyed it. So, whatever floats your boat.
Oh my God. All right, so I'm gonna turn it up to the audience, and if you guys have any questions, just give it a raise. Yes, right, straight ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to be watching the show with my hand on the pause button. Is there anything in particular, like, what is your favorite thing that you don't want us to miss? Is there a particular, interstitial that we should be looking out for as the season progresses?
Man. Great question.
We're not prepared for that question. I thought I was going to process.
I have one.
I would go.
No,
ahead.
you go.
I think episode 3, and I certainly is it's just, you know what it is. It's you build the thing, and I liken it to The Simpsons. When they first built that show, they thought Bart was a star, and then somewhere around season 3, they said, no, actually Homer is the star of the show. And so when you build something good, and Bart's still funny, but when you build something good, it evolves. And I think even within the first season, what Sherman Showcase is, you'll watch it begin to evolve and begin to figure itself out and to figure out how to be better and funnier and stronger. And I think 3 is one of those marks where we really set out to create something iconic, and we got lucky that Vic looks exactly and sounds exactly like.
Well, apparently he's been imitating Prince since he was 9 years old. And let me say, he's not playing Prince
too. I mean, I kind of want to say that. Like, we feel like in some ways we never really got to say a proper goodbye to Prince. So I think view it through that lens. It's funny. It's loving as hell. It's respectful, but it's also like a nice, like, hey man, we loved you. Sorry to see you go.
Yeah, I will say that, like, in that episode, he's actually not playing Prince. A lot of our artists,
Correct.
like Jackie Redmond, his character's name is Charade. He has a band called the Mardi Gras. I mean, obviously there's a lot of Minneapolis in his blood, but we actually set out to creating these fictional artists, we treated it like we were creating a Marvel Cinematic Universe of black music. You know what I mean? So, like, we were like, what's something that we like? Well, we liked, 90s West Coast rappers, so let's create a band like that.
DC Go-Go. There's a Go-Go
Yeah, there's a
song.
Go-Go song for all the people from the DMV.
Hi.
Baltimore, stand strong, or just survive. When did it go so dark?
Listen, I can't do this.
She's gonna be handing out mouth shots.
Do not leave me.
Hey, wait, can I say, to answer your question, I thought of one moment, actually a series of moments, without spoiling anything. When we started off the season, like, you've probably already forgotten, that episode 1 ends with a weird Sherman fading out of the picture and to be continued. Weird shit happens, okay?
And that's just
We're
stay like that, right?
Well, here's the
Forever.
deal. We're fans of Dan Harmon. One of the things that I love that they did on Community was the stuff that played. Yes, there's stuff playing in the background of all these episodes that will pay off in episode 8. One of the things the network came to, they were like, episode 8 is such a good payoff because you don't see any of this stuff coming. They're like, are you sure we shouldn't just, like, let people? We were like, no. Just, like, let people watch the season, and then when they get to episode 8 and some of the stuff that we've been doing season long in various episodes is like, oh shit, then you can go back and watch it again and be like, oh, I did not even notice that before.
You're building in your DVD spells. Do you hear that? IFC, they're building it in right there. Anybody else with a question? Yes, right here.
Why does it Sherman age?
Oh, wow. Such an amazing question.
I think the show, you know.
I don't know if we should answer that.
Yeah.
Don't
Maybe we
kill
haven't
the
thought of that.
magic.
You know what? Some of the Jackie Redmond ages, you know, like he's got the good fro. By the way, I mean those are some of the subtle jokes I like. Jackie Redmond in the '70s has got the fro. He's got an all-black band. Then when you see him in 2019, he's got the processed hair. He's going gray. All white musicians behind him. Not saying that's what happened to James Brown. Living in America. He went from black and proud to living in. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on. That's an excellent question. I say we should skirt past that one.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You'll have to watch.
Create a Reddit thread with theories. There we go.
I'm really impressed.
There you go.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, right
I'm
here.
sorry.
Yeah, and then I will come back.
So I'm a sketch comedy writer myself, and one problem that
Condolences.
I seem to encounter that you mentioned before is that, especially in Austin, and I'm sure in some other areas, there aren't a place for people of color writers. How did y'all, what advice could you give fellow POC writers to maybe push themselves forward in a community that that really isn't supporting us?
I think it's really important to have allies. Well, you know, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from this playwright, Paula Vogel, and she said, we love you. And she said, you know, circles rise together, and she was talking about how the people who she, you know, was working with now that she had been a celebrated playwright were the same people she started out with. Similarly, again, as a Bresha with Diallo, and a lot of the folks you see on that screen, my sister, Craig, and Nefertari are friends of ours we've known for 15, 20 years. So my advice would be invest in your peer group and develop a peer group of people who are like-minded and to whom you can show work. And I think specifically that's what we did. We were out writing. Our first sketch comedy troupe was called Cleo's Apartment. It had Wyatt Cenac, it had Robin Thede, it had a bunch of people who've gone on to be successful in comedy.
And nobody was nobody had done anything.
Nobody could pay.
Nobody had done a thing.
Couldn't pay our rent. Like it was like, you know, missing rehearsals to go do a night job. So, but we invested in each other. We didn't spend all our time trying to get people above us. Look at us. We spent all our time writing for each other. The same way that I would argue that like Lucas and you know Spielberg and those guys did when they were up and coming, when they were nascent. So that is my advice, would be to develop and invest in your own peer group, because you guys will create opportunities for yourselves. You know, I was in the industry trying to get work. I started acting first. I wasn't getting any. I kept playing the same characters. We began writing together, and we said, you know, if we're going to play parts we love, we got to write them for ourselves.
I'd say just to build on that, just write it yourselves. Everybody's got a movie studio in their pocket nowadays. Like, shoot it, post it. Someone will see it. And don't be afraid to give stuff a try, because I know for a fact, I don't know if you remember this. So in LA, we took our sketch comedy to Black stand-up night at the Comedy Store. And sketch comedy and stand-up, going into a Black stand-up environment with our like our wigs and our hair, and, you know, our costumes
Fake
and stuff.
glasses,
Like,
scars.
first off, stand-ups are used to like, okay, so that's my time. Here comes the next stand-up. You know, we took like 10 minutes to get out on the stage. Like, nobody wanted to see us.
Coming out here, y'all, they gonna do some sketches.
No, they called it skits. They're like, hey,
got
I
some
need
skits.
that fool gonna do some skits. So I don't know, give it up for Cleo's Apartment. So we get out there, we're trying to do our skits, and like the audience is just like, mm-hmm. Hey, give me another drink while they up here. You know, it was
look,
terrible.
my personal opinion is that failure is really, really good for your career. That's been my experience. We went out there, it was crickets, but we soldiered the hell through it.
By the last skit, they were on
they were
board.
dying laughing. So
They didn't know what was happening at first. They were like, what?
Yeah, I think you got to be fearless, and you got to be unafraid to fall off that tightrope, because you're going to fall off the tightrope.
That's good.
I hope that helps, right? Okay.
All right, straight in the back. Yes, sir.
So I've never seen a show. This is amazing.
Thanks, bruh.
Thank you, guy who's not a plant.
Thank you, Raheem. I mean,
It's definitely not my cousin. You look like my cousin.
I'll see you at home.
Hey, man, we got to share a car.
Close to my real name. But point being,
That's Rashid. Maybe. you don't ask your question.
so my question to you, being like, I've never seen a sketch show that is variety, but also non-linear and has all the kind of. I just.
It's weird.
I'm right. Like, how do you write that? Like, was that always a concept from the beginning?
Can I just really quick? Two quick things. It evolved organically. I think Diallo and I, again, as I was saying earlier, we have between the two of us probably 20, 25 years of sketch comedy. So I think in terms of the form, we had a sense of it, but we also trusted the process. We learned that at Fallon. You just got to trust that as you begin to do it, it will begin to take shape, and hopefully your taste will help you figure out what parts to cut off and what parts to keep. Secondarily, we really, 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 really wanted a show that was unbound, you know? And, you know, God bless Donald Glover and the Invisible Car, you know, on Atlanta. That was a watershed moment, I think, because now if you're in a meeting with an executive and they give you some note about groundedness, you could be like, but Atlanta had an invisible car, you shut the fuck up. So I say that to say that the form that you see is actually, it continues to evolve. It tries to push toward the good stuff, but the most important thing about it is that it is unbound. You know, we really wanted something that allowed us to do any type of comedy or sketch comedy, and there's room for even more types of comedy as we go into season 2.
I've got to say also, I mean, do you remember the Muppet shows? They had the same thought behind them originally. I was a choreographer on the Muppets back in the 80s. And
I did not know this.
I was just about to say it. Be like, I knew
How
that.
have we had so many drinks together?
Because by the time I start to tell you anything, you're asleep.
You know, last night in Austin was it's education.
City came alive.
Yeah, you guys go hard. Good God.
Chico, what was it called?
Topo Chico.
Uchiko.
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 We should
Oh
have
my
Charo on the show.
How did you make a sushi place sound Mexican?
Because they were serving tacos.
Keep going. I'm sorry. Go.
Saki taco.
Sucky taco.
You know, actually, to close out, your format question is a good one. Every episode of the show, the first 2 episodes are kind of the same. You have a guest host come out. The 3rd episode, we have Morris Day as the host, but we're really just following one artist, Charade, over the course of his entire career, just from his appearances on the showcase. And you can sort of see the difference between like 80s Prince and 90s Prince. You know what I mean? Because like I always said, like in like 1999, Prince could have come on Soul Train, but like people would have been like, "Where's Mobb Deep?" You know what I mean? Like things change over the. So there's some episodes where we follow one artist. There's some episodes where we show you just one episode of the show continuous all the way through. Format-wise, we don't think it confuses you. We hope that you just come along for the ride, and I think the single format is just that it's Sherman's show. Yeah.
Excellent. One more, I have to do this before we throw to a few more questions, because we got 45 minutes. We got a few more time. My favorite sketch, because I have to talk about it, I told you about this, is Black People Were Right, which to me, I was like, and the Emmy goes to. I'm sorry, that is the greatest sketch in the history of the world, because it marries like the craziest things. It marries like Spotlight, President's Men's type.
The Post.
Yes, the Post, newspaper, procedural, historical things, and literally every black guy with like 2 hits of a blunt is telling me how Tupac is still alive. How white
I told you that
people-
in confidence.
Yeah, and white people in
wish
the
you wouldn't-
CIA created crack. And so there's a part of me, because I know y'all live in California, it's a very California show, exactly how much recreational marijuana was smoked to put those 2 things together.
Are you talking about last night?
I mean, I'm sure there was some last night. Y'all need to be careful, it's Texas, but keep going.
What can we say about that sketch? Like we've had that idea for a long time, because the fact is, like things like the Tuskegee experiment are real. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's not that much further a leap to say like, what if we're right about all this stuff? Oh, sweet, you're back.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bresha Webb. But you know what, Diallo? That story also, believe it or not, comes from an episode of Fallon, which actually inspired.
yes.
Diallo and I have had a couple of pilots at HBO, and the very first one was centered around black journalism, because we were just thinking about, Eddie Murphy told this story on Fallon where he was
Great
like,
story.
when he met
James Brown.
By the way, no pressure now. I gotta make it. It's not gonna be funny. Where he met a James Brown, and James Brown told Eddie Murphy, "Hey man, bury your money in the woods." And then he's like, "Cause then the government can't get it." And then Eddie was like, well, then how, but what if I can't find it? And James was like, yeah, but then the government still can't get it. And so we wrote an episode pilot.
So wait, we were watching this on the monitor in our office, and I was like, are you telling me that James Brown might have a whole bunch of money buried in the woods of Georgia? We gotta go find that money.
So our pilot for the other one, you know, it got sort of like noted to death and turned into some bullshit. But before it got noted to death and turned into bullshit, it was about literally us going to Augusta and digging around Augusta, and then the pilot would end with like, or maybe it was a season finale, but it would end with like, you know, them finding it. I say all that to say that there's a rich history of deserved paranoia in the black community because of, like Diallo said, because a lot of times that shit is real, and it was a rich area for us. And even as we moved to do a sketch show, we said, well, we got to do something with this because it's funny, and we could have other episodes of that too.
Yeah, like whether it's, you know, black conspiracies or getting the chance to say goodbye to Prince, or we even do something that in its own way is sort of our way of addressing police brutality. We actually go at very serious topics on this show, but we go at it in a very sort of unexpected, I think, very, you know, cool way. And just to piggyback on his point, yeah, you know, we took an idea somewhat similar to that one to HBO, and it kind of goes back to my earlier point about, like, sort of back then they would always steer you back towards what have you actually lived. So we brought him an idea that was sort of similar to that. By the end of it, the only part of it that had anything to do with what you saw there was just the fact that we played two journalists. You know what I mean? Like they totally took, at the time HBO was having a good run with shows like Girls, so we got steered. It was like it's like Girls, but it'll be with black guys. You know what I mean? Like
exactly, right? Like
feel free to run with that one if you guys want.
Man. I'm gonna stay away
Very
from that
confusing.
joke because
But they took what was special out of that idea, you know, and so again, IFC gave us a chance to just do it the way we wanted to do it.
Can I just say, for those of you who are writers, I'm gonna give you some advice. Partnerships matter. If you are in business with a network and you keep hitting the wall on notes, I think you should really consider that relationship, because it's not gonna suddenly get better. You know, you really have to be with people who believe in your vision. Again, look at Donald over at FX. I mean, that is belief. I don't know behind the scenes if he had to fight for that, but to watch it, I just felt empowered. I was like, I'm literally watching what the writers first thought of, and I'm not watching something watered down, and it felt very special.
Eddie Perkins episode.
Everything.
41 minutes long.
And again, you know, it's not about format. It's
Can
about,
we do a 41-minute episode? I see a yes. All right, cool.
This is a place to ask for things that they don't have to honor later. Daddy wants a raise.
I saw Pete and Drew and Caroline nod, so we're good.
Scale.
Great. All right, yes, question right here.
Yes.
You played Malik on Looking.
I did.
You played Keith on Glow.
Yes.
Does your agent know only to bring you like the best husbands on TV? Is that what you bring to the role?
First off, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You know what? I've been very fortunate. I originally started as an actor. My background is mostly Shakespeare. That's right. Any fans?
Couple of Shakespeare fans in the crowd.
I just want to say I played Ophidius in Coriolanus, y'all. Nobody, right? So, hey, get out of here, Shakespeare. Tell us a joke. I just say it to say that acting has always been very special. I'm very fortunate in that I love comedy, but anytime I get an opportunity to do a part like that and to be like on Glow with those just amazing, talented, the funniest people, the funniest set, or Looking, we got to go shoot up in San Francisco. I mean, I just felt super lucky, and I was like, this is awesome. Because we had to leave. This is the part of the story that, again, I want to encourage people. We had to leave Fallon. Like, the show went from being something people didn't know would be a hit to the #1 show, and then we had to call our respective families and say, hey, so we're going to leave this and go do our own thing now. And, you know, it was tough. You know, first we went to Harvard and didn't become doctors. They were already mad about that shit. But we struggled and struggled and struggled, and then we got the job at Fallon. We were on TV a lot. We were writing stuff. We were making good money. Got an Emmy nomination, living in Manhattan. It was a party. And they were like, all right, good. And they were like, by the way, we're leaving. And then they were like,
why do you keep messing up?
Stop this. So it was a leap of faith. I encourage all of you in your careers to take a leap of faith, do something really scary, because you really, really owe it to yourself to not ever look back and go, what if I had tried? And we would not be sitting here. In fact, one of the things that I think is the biggest blessing is, for the first time in history, Diallo and I are going to be on Fallon as guests.
Whoa.
So
5 minutes.
Yes, I saw. Thank
take
you.
a leap, guys. Take a leap. Go for it. Yes.
I got maybe time for 2 more questions if anybody wants to.
Young lady right here in the middle.
Yes, thank you.
I came from a panel on casting anthologies where they said that when your show gets really good, people start going to the casting directors and saying, I want to be on that show. You just very casually mentioned that Morris Day hosts an episode. And we went, what? Is there anybody that you're dying to have come to your show? Because we will start the Twitter campaign now.
Go ahead, shoot your shot.
Beyonce?
Honestly,
we're
I will be there. I will be the
we
floor.
we might have to have security specifically for you.
I will be the wall and the floor.
She already had her face licked, so you gotta figure out something else.
She had her face licked? Who licked Beyonce's face?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Actually, your
Yeah,
girl
that was-
Tiffany was in.
that was a thing. That was a thing.
Yeah, bit Beyonce.
Bit and licking is totally.
Can I just say, just the same way that like Nigel came on the show and turned out to be like literally one of our absolute favorite hosts of
And
this
a
season.
friend forever.
And a friend for life. We'll vineyard in Robles.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very interested in that.
I want to
vineyard.
see it so you think you can dance Sherman's Showcase crossover. Let's do this.
That would be so cool.
That'd be nice.
Crossover episode.
We should talk to the executive producer of that show.
You know, I'll say, to answer your questions,
okay,
one of the
sorry.
things we did work
We-
a lot. Well, just really quick, work
we-
a lot of
we
celebrities
like
at
everybody.
Fallon.
That's our point, but go ahead.
And we worked with a lot of celebrities at Fallon. We do like everybody, and we learned at the time there's a lot of people who really want to show other parts of their talent. They want to show that they're a triple threat. And what's nice is when they come through and they're like Nigel, and they're a pleasure to be around and fun to have on set. And there's a lot of people who, for scheduling reasons, couldn't do season 1, and we hope they do season 2. Drake.
We've worked with Drake in the past. He could do that. But I actually
He's a
want
buddy. We're
I want to
friends.
retract my answer only in the sense that like I think one of the beauties of this show again is that you can get somebody who you don't know and somebody who would never like. No offense. SNL already has like certain people who they go to host. I like the fact that we can go to people who are just cool. You know what I mean? Like we can go to who's it? Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody. You know, like you can pluck some. Did somebody say no? Oh no! Did something happen? Is he on the list? Oh.
So quickly.
By the way, that's a great sketch.
Wow, y'all are writing season 2.
You just say a name and then you're like, so.
Lord. All right, one last question, real quick, if anybody has one. Yes, straight back, ma'am. Yes, you raised high. Don't shy. No.
Idea for a special. Sherman doing Super Soul Sunday with a...
I really love how everyone in this audience is helping them write and get season 2 going. Like, I love
And by the way,
y'all.
for free, per the contract you all looked at on the way in here.
Where's the guild representative?
I love
By the
that
way,
idea. That's great.
I will say that there has been some talk of us doing a holiday special. If that happens,
Sherman's Showcase.
my goal, and I'll say it here
man.
for the first time. No, you know what? I won't even cheat it.
Say it. What the
Say
hell?
it.
These people are cool.
Okay, I'll say it. Stay between us, right? New Jack Christmas. You get Mario, Wesley,
Mario. We already got
Judd Nelson, Chris Rock, and Ice-T together, and we show you the 1992
Christopher
Christmas
Williams.
special that Sherman had on the show.
I really love my job, and now I'm literally going to be like, can I write on your show, please? I want some Sugar Hill like mixed in there, being like the Anchorman fight where they come up to each other. Like,
Yes.
I thought we were the
Exactly.
number one 90s like hood.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Series. Okay,
Juice.
sorry.
The cast
We
of
gotta
Juice
quit
comes
writing
through.
season 2 now because
Thank you
our
guys for
time is
watching.
done. But thank you. Tell
Tell
everyone
all your
to
friends.
watch
July
this
31st,
show
IFC.
on IFC.
Nigel Lythgoe.
Nigel,
Bresha,
Lythgoe.
Webb.
Let's go, live your web. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.